Hello, my dear student. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you all are quite okay and fine. Welcome you all to my today online class. Before going to start my today's lecture, first of all, I would like to introduce myself to all of you. I am Muhammad Ghulam Morshed, lecturer of biology, Milestone College, Uttara, Dhaka. Okay, let's start our today's lecture. Today I am going to discuss about Chapter 2, that is Introduction of Animal Kingdom, Hydra. The topics. I will be discussed here about symbiosis of Hydra. I will also be discussed here about the physiological division of labor in Hydra. These two topics will be discussed here today. Now, the learning output or objectives after completing this lesson, student could easily understand or student can easily explain about the symbiosis of the Hydra. Student can also explain about the physiological division of labor in Hydra. Okay. Now, first of all, the symbiosis in Hydra. What is symbiosis? Definition: the symbiosis actually comes from the Greek word sym, which means together, and bios means living. So the symbiosis is an association of two different species of individuals in which both the animals are benefited. Actually, it's the association of two different species from where both the animals becomes benefited or get benefited from each other. Okay. In this association, both individuals are actually called the symbionts. The individual who are take parts in this symbiotic relationship, they are actually called the symbiont. For example, there are many examples of the symbiosis in the living world. However, the Hydra, Chlorohydra viridissima, and the green algae Zoochlorella exhibit a very good example of the symbiosis actually. Okay. Now the symbiosis in Hydra. Now the explanation of symbiosis. The gastrodermis cell of the Chlorohydra viridissima are harbored by a large number of unicellular algae, that is chlorella, referred to as also the Zoochlorella. Okay. The benefits getting by algae. Actually, we have already said that the both species are actually getting benefited from each other. Now, first of all, I would like to discuss about how the algae are actually becomes benefited or benefited getting by the algae. And actually, number one, the algae gets shelter. Okay, the algae can get a shelter and protection within the body of Hydra. Okay. And the second benefit is they obtains carbon dioxide and water from the Hydra respiration and used as a raw materials for photosynthesis. Actually, the algae bear the chlorophyll. That's why they can prepare their own food by the process of the photosynthesis. And for the formation of the for accomplishing the photosynthesis process, actually it needs the carbon dioxide and water. Actually carbon dioxide and water is actually produced during the respiration process of the Hydra. So this carbon dioxide and water is again utilized by the algae for the synthesis of the carbohydrate by the process of the photosynthesis. Okay. And the third benefits are actually algae obtains nitrogenous compounds from the Hydra excretory waste and used as a components of the protein synthesis. Okay. Actually, the animals excrete different types of nitrogenous waste materials like creatinine, uric acid, etc. Actually, these are nitrogenous waste products are actually produced by the metabolism of the protein foods. Okay, and this nitrogenous compound is utilized by the algae for the formation of the synthesis of the protein. Now let's discuss about the explanation of symbiosis. Continue the how the hydra how now the benefit getting by the hydra. We have already discussed about how the algae is actually get benefits from the hydra. Now I am discussing here how the hydra becomes benefited or benefited getting by the hydra. Okay. Number one, the hydra obtain oxygens from algae and used in its respiration. Okay. As you know that during the photosynthesis process, the oxygen is actually produced as byproduct, and this oxygen is again utilized by the hydra for the cellular respiration, because in the aerobic respiration uh, it is required for the oxygen for the oxidation of the glucose molecules to liberate energy. So the hydra obtain oxygens from algae and used in its respiration. And number two, the hydra obtains carbohydrate from algae as food materials. Okay, we have already discussed that algae bears the chlorophyll. That's why they can produce food, especially carbohydrate food, by the process of photosynthesis. So some of the carbohydrate are actually utilized by the hydra as a food. Okay. Now third benefit is the hydra also use dead algae as their food. Some algae becomes dead, and when this algae become dead, and this dead algae is actually utilized by the hydra as their food. Now let's discuss about another very important topics, that is the physiological division of labor in the hydra. The division of labor. First of all, we have to know about what is division of labor. Okay, for proper functioning of a multicellular organisms, the different cells of the body is specialized structurally and physiologically to perform different functions. This phenomenon is actually called the physiological division of labor, or simply division of labor. Amongst the animal kingdom, this phenomenon is first illustrated by the Cnidarian phylum. The physiological division of the labor in the hydra is closely related to its morphological differentiation. Okay. Now let's discuss about the physiological division of labor in details. The division of labor of hydra can be discussed under two headings. Okay. Number one, the morphological division of labor. Actually, the hydra body consisting of various parts like mouth. Okay. What are the functions of the mouth? Mouth have a specific function. The main function of the mouth to ingest food particles, and undigested food materials are also eliminated from their body through the mouth. So mouth actually act as both anus and mouth. Okay. It is also involved in the ingestion and egestion purpose. And number two, the tentacle. Tentacle is a very important parts of the hydra, because this is the thread-like structure, thread-like or hollow structure, which are actually helps in the locomotion, prey capturing, predation, and defensive purpose. And number three, the coelenteron. As you know that the coelenteron is the body cavity of the hydra. Actually, it is actually encircled by the gastrodermis, and coelenteron is also involved in the digestion as well as the circulation. Okay. And the number four, the epidermis. Hydra is a diploblastic animal. The body wall is basically consisting of two layers, epidermis and gastrodermis, and gastrodermis actually provide a general protecting covering of the hydra. Okay. It also involved in the various functions like the locomotion, because uh, some of the cells, especially musculoepithelial cells, plays a very important role in the construction and expansion of their body, and this construction and expansion is basically helps in the locomotion purpose. And number 5, the mesoglia. Mesoglia is a jelly-like acellular layer which are found in between the epidermis and the gastrodermis, and the mesoglia is actually act as a basement of the two layer. Okay, epidermis and gastrodermis. This is the baseline foundation. It actually act as a baseline foundation of both epidermis and gastrodermis, and this mesoglia is also involved in the contraction and expansion of their body, and it also involved in the locomotion purpose. And now 6 is the trunk. Trunk is the big portion of the body, the part between the pedal disc and the hypostome is actually known as the trunk, and the trunk especially bear birds and gonads. Okay, trunks have several important functions. Okay, and number 7 is the pedal disc. Pedal disc is the is the part of the hydra which helps for the attachment of the hydra to any substratum like aquatic vegetation or stone. Pedal disc is also involved in the locomotion purpose, for example gliding locomotion or floating locomotion. Some of the glandular cell in the pedal disc can create some bubble-like structure, and which and by the help of the bubble, hydra can also float. Can also floating. Okay. Now the cellular division of liver. Actually, in case of hydra, if you we have already discussed in the previous lecture, because the hydra body wall is basically consisting of two layers. Okay, epidermis and gastrodermis, and the epidermis bears 7 different types of cells, and the gastrodermis also bear the 5 different types of cells, and each cell have the specific function. Now let's discuss about each of the cells that are actually found in the hydra, and their functions actually. The different ectodermal and gastrodermal cells perform different physiological functions automatically. Okay. Now, first of all, the epitheliomuscular tissue. This is the very important tissue. This is a large cell. Okay, and these cells helps in the locomotion purpose, and these cells have mainly 2 functions: protection, and the musculoepithelial cells also involved in the shortening and bending of the body. Okay, so it can also helps in the locomotion purpose. And number 2, the nidoblast cell. Nidoblast cell is a defining and unique characteristic features of the hydra, and this cells is involved in the various important functions like food capturing, predation, and locomotion. Number 3, the interstitial cell. It's a peculiar cells which are found in the hydra, and this cells is actually responsible for give rise to any kinds of cell if required, and this power is actually called the totipotency. If this interstitial cells actually give rise to a gonad or any epidermal or gastrodermal cell. Okay. Now the 4th, the sensory cell. Sensory cell is actually found both in epidermis and the gastrodermis, and this cell is actually responsible for receiving the impulse and transmit it to the nerve cell. Number 5, the nerve cell. The nerve cell is a specialized type of cell which are actually receive the nerve impulse from the sensory cell and responds accordingly. And this cell is also coordinate the whole functions of the hydra. Number 6, the nutritive cell. The nutritive cells are actually helps in the nutrition purpose. There are actually two types of nutritive cells are actually found in the Hydra. Number one, the amoeboid nutritive cells, and these cells is actually helps in the uh, intercellular digestion, because when the digestion actually take places inside the food vacuole of the cell, this kinds of digestion is actually known as the intracellular digestion, and this nutritive cell is also helps in the extracellular digestion also, because some of the flagellated nutritive cells also helps in the extracellular digestion. So the main function of the nutritive cell is the cell is mainly involved in the intracellular and extracellular digestion. Okay, that's why this cell is actually known as the nutritive cell, because they are related to the nutrition or digestion purpose. Number 7, the gland cell. Gland cell is a actually modified type of gland cell, modified type of epithelial-muscular cells, and this in the gastrodermis there are two types of gland cell are actually found. Number 1, mucus secreting gland cell, and number 2, the enzyme secreting gland cell. Both gland cell is actually helps in the digestion purpose, and this gland cell is also secrete some adhesive substance that can helps the Hydra to attach themselves to any substratum. Okay. Now the homework. Okay. A, Chlorohydra viridissima. B, Zoochlorella. A, what is symbiosis? B, what do you mean by coelenteron? C, according to the stem, the mentioned A and B species are interdependent with each other. Explain it. D, according to the stem, a species exhibit the ideal physiological division of labor. Analyze it with logic. Thank you for your patient sharing. I think today's lecture was very much effective lecture for all of us. I am humbly requesting you all to watch my video lecture for several times, so that you can understand each and every topic that have already discussed here today. If you have any queries regarding my today's lecture, feel free to ask me, or you can also ask your respective subject teacher. Thank you all. Khuda Hafiz.